In the aftermath of its violent birth, the Earth was entirely unrecognizable, a swirling, chaotic sphere of liquid magma. But the fires of the early solar system could not burn forever. Slowly, agonizingly, the planet began to cool. As the extreme heat radiated out into the freezing vacuum of space, the surface of the magma ocean began to freeze, hardening into a thin, unstable crust of black basalt rock, the very first solid ground in our planet's history. But the Earth was still boiling on the inside. Trapped beneath this new, hardened shell, the pressure was immense. It forced its way out through millions of violent volcanic fissures, turning the entire globe into an active volcanic minefield. These eruptions didn't just spit out lava. They acted as massive planetary exhaust pipes, pumping unimaginable amounts of toxic gases directly into the sky, creating an atmosphere unlike anything we see today. Deep within the Earth's molten mantle, water was trapped inside the rock. The intense volcanic heat baked this water directly out of the stone, releasing it upward in a process called volcanic outgassing, shooting billions of tons of superheated steam into the air. For millions of years, the volcanoes exhaled this heavy moisture, but the surface of the Earth was still hundreds of degrees too hot. Liquid water physically could not exist on the ground, so every single drop remained trapped in the sky as vapor. The early atmosphere became impossibly thick and heavy, pressurized by massive amounts of carbon dioxide and steam. If you were to stand on the surface, you would be crushed. The air was literally as thick as the deep ocean. The planet was completely sealed inside this atmospheric pressure cooker, shrouded in a permanent, global blanket of dark, heavy clouds, blocking out the harsh light of the young sun entirely. But the volcanoes were not the only source of water. Far out in the freezing darkness of the outer solar system, a massive arsenal of cosmic ice was waiting, leftover debris from the chaotic formation of the gas giants, and their gravitational pull was about to send them our way. This era is known as the Late Heavy Bombardment, a terrifying, apocalyptic storm of celestial violence. Millions of asteroids were knocked out of their orbits, hurtling directly toward the young, vulnerable Earth. The sky above the black crust lit up with continuous fire, a relentless, global barrage of high-speed impacts. But these were not just ordinary rocks. Many of them were carbonaceous chondrites, asteroids packed with ice. As these frozen cosmic delivery vehicles smashed into the planet, the extreme heat of the impact instantly vaporized their ice, transforming it into massive shockwaves of pure steam, pumping even more massive volumes of moisture into the overloaded sky. We know this extraterrestrial delivery happened because when modern scientists measure the chemical isotopes of our oceans, the chemical fingerprint of the water matches these ancient space rocks perfectly. Half of the water you drink today was forged in deep space. Between the volcanic steam from below and the cosmic ice from above, the atmosphere of Earth was swollen to its absolute breaking point, holding a global ocean's worth of water suspended in the air, waiting for the temperature to drop. And finally, as the Earth continued to radiate its heat into space, a critical thermodynamic threshold was crossed. The surface temperature dipped just below the boiling point of water. The atmosphere could no longer hold the moisture. High up in the choking, toxic darkness of the sky, the endless vapor finally began to condense, forming the very first physical droplets of liquid water, the most important chemical transition in planetary history. The first drops fell like heavy bullets onto the scorching rock, instantly sizzling back into steam upon contact. But as millions of drops followed, they rapidly cooled the crust, until eventually, the water stopped boiling away, and then the skies broke entirely. It started to rain on planet Earth, and it didn't just rain for a weekend, or a month, or a year. It rained continuously for thousands, perhaps millions of years. It was a torrential, global superstorm of unimaginable scale, the greatest deluge the universe has ever seen. Billions of tons of water violently hammered the black basalt crust, scrubbing the toxic atmosphere clean of its heavy gases. The water hit the ground with devastating kinetic force. Because the atmosphere was thick with carbon dioxide, the rain was highly acidic. It acted as a global chemical solvent, aggressively eating away at the sharp edges of the volcanic rock. Massive, raging rivers formed in a matter of days, violently slashing deep canyons into the unyielding snow, acting like massive, unstoppable liquid bulldozers, carrying billions of tons of dissolved minerals and salts downstream. The relentless downpour naturally sought the lowest ground, rushing violently into the massive impact craters left by the asteroids, slowly filling these giant cosmic scars with toxic, mineral-rich water, creating the Earth's very first lakes. Century after century, the rain never stopped. These massive crater lakes rapidly expanded and overflowed their banks, violently breaching their rocky borders and pouring out to flood the massive valleys below. Isolated lakes began to merge across thousands of miles, forming vast, violent inland seas. The water levels across the entire globe were rising at a terrifying pace, swallowing the black crust mile by agonizing mile. The highest peaks of the ancient volcanoes tried to stand above the tide, but the deluge was completely unstoppable. The relentless rain continued to drain the massive atmospheric reservoir, pulling the entire sky down onto the surface of the planet. As the waters rose, they became a highly complex chemical soup. The acid rain had aggressively washed iron, magnesium, and salt from the land, dumping it directly into the rising tide, giving the oceans the exact salinity they still possess today. For millions of years, the battle between rock and water raged, until eventually the very last mountain peaks were swallowed. The Earth had completely surrendered to the deluge. The crust was entirely buried, and then a miracle happened in the atmosphere. With the vast majority of the water vapor finally drained from the air, the oppressive global blanket of clouds began to thin. The rain slowly, finally, began to stop. For the very first time in hundreds of millions of years, the global storm clouds broke apart. The thick, toxic haze of the early atmosphere cleared, and the skies opened up to the cosmos. The harsh, bright light of a young sun pierced the darkness, beating down through the atmosphere and striking the surface of the Earth for the very first time since the deluge began, revealing a completely transformed world. The hellish, glowing magma ocean of the Hadean Eon was completely gone, replaced entirely by a deep, dark, global expanse of water. There were no green continents, no sandy beaches, no islands, just a single unbroken ocean covering the entire sphere. The Earth had become a true water world, a perfectly smooth, silent blue marble suspended in the void. The violent chaos of its formation had finally been extinguished, locked away beneath billions of tons of crushing water. The colossal gravity of the massive, close-orbiting moon took control of the endless waters, creating massive rhythmic tides, sweeping across the unobstructed globe in perfect harmony. From the surface, it was a picture of absolute terrifying peace. The Great Deluge had successfully cooled the exterior of the planet, acting as a massive planetary heat sink. But the water had also trapped the extreme radioactive heat deep inside, sealing the planet shut exactly like a global pressure cooker. Beneath the gentle, rolling waves of this new ocean, under miles of freezing high-pressure water, the black crust was beginning to quietly groan under the strain. The peace of this flooded world was an absolute illusion. The stage had been set by fire, ice, and an endless storm. The planetary cradle was completely full. But to find the next chapter of Earth's violent history, we have to leave the sunlight behind. We must dive down into the crushing eternal darkness, where the immense weight of the new ocean meets the fiery mantle below. Because the planet is a machine powered by heat. That heat was desperate for an escape route. Down here, the physical pressure was mathematically incomprehensible. Billions of tons of water bearing down on the ocean floor. a crushing weight that tested the structural integrity of the planet, trying to keep the fiery mantle completely contained. It was a world entirely devoid of sunlight, an alien, freezing environment of absolute sensory deprivation. But the water down here was not empty. It was completely saturated with the heavy elements washed from the land. The massive global flood had done its job perfectly. It had aggressively stripped the raw materials needed for complex chemistry, creating an ocean completely primed with dormant potential, just waiting for the right kind of energy to spark it. Trapped beneath the heavy, freezing water, the solid rock began to chemically weaken. The radioactive furnace of the core was building unimaginable upward kinetic energy, and the thin basalt crust could not hold it forever. The era of fire and ice was officially over. The era of the Great Deluge had completely finished its work. Now, the planet was holding its breath, preparing for the most violent geological awakening in its history. The endless silent ocean was nothing but a temporary pause, a quiet intermission between two periods of total planetary destruction. The stage was set. The Earth was completely flooded, and it was about to shatter. And when that crust finally breaks, the map of our world will truly be